All right, this is a tutorial of the web page for our National Weather Service North Platte page. So the first thing you'll want to do is go ahead and get onto our website. So it's going to be right up here, weather.gov, G-O-V, and / LBF for Lee Bird Field, and then another backslash. You can also put in weather.gov / North Platte. It'll get you to the same page. Once you're on this page, you're going to go ahead and hover over the Rivers and Lakes tab here. You'll see it says National Water Prediction Service, NWPS. We're going to go ahead and click on that. So once you click on that, you're going to get this map here. And it's zoomed in right now to cover our forecast area, but if you use a mouse, it can scroll out. Now this is best viewed on like a desktop type computer. If you are using your phone, you'll notice this little message up top here that you'll want to turn it to landscape mode. So kind of turn it on its side there so you can actually see this map. Once you're on this map, you're going to notice all these little dots here. If you look over to the right side, you should see this layers legend displayed on the right. If for some reason you do not see it, you're going to just click on that little bar here on the side, and you'll just click there and it'll bring it back up. So each of these dots represent a different type of flooding. So you'll see green dots here, which if we look at the green dots, it means no flooding. If you look at the orange dots, we got a couple orange dots, you can see that those are minor flooding. And then there are some ones up here that are red and purple, and those are going to be your moderate and major floods stages there. So for us, we're going to take a look at this orange dot here. So I'm going to zoom in, okay, so we can get a little better look at where it is. So you can see Atkinson and O'Neill, and this site here is on the Elkhorn River. So if we just kind of hold our mouse over the top of that little orange circle, it'll tell us where it is. So it's the Elkhorn River near Atkinson. And then we're going to just click on the orange circle. Once you click on this orange circle, it'll bring up this little graph here. We're going to click on the full information right in the middle there. This will bring up a bigger graph for us to look at. So again, this is the Elkhorn River near Atkinson. When we hover over any of these points on the blue line, it can tell us the feet. So we'll look at the time here, and this is June 20th at 12 p.m. We'll hover over it, and you'll see it was at 3.19 feet, and that is the observation. And if we go to June 21st at 12 p.m., you'll see that the river did rise to 6.26 feet. Now you'll notice it's inside this yellow coloring, which is the action stage. So that means it hit at least 6 feet, which, you know, we said that it hit right about 6.26 feet, 6.27 around noon. So we're going to look again at noon on the 22nd. So that was this afternoon. And then you'll notice we went back up to 7.98 feet, which is in this orange shading. And we can go over to this left side here and see that that is now considered minor flooding. So 7.5 feet or greater is going to be the minor flooding. If it reaches higher than 9 feet, it'll be in this red shading here, and that'll be at 9 feet for moderate flooding. And we'll scroll down here. You can see the categories here to give you a better idea as well. So action stage is at 6 feet, minor flooding is 7.5, moderate is 9, and then major flooding is at 10 feet. You can also take a quick look at what our last observation was. So at 6:45 p.m. Central Time was the last observation, and so that's going to be that 8.06 feet up there. And then the record for this river is 10.3 feet. And then we're going to scroll down, and we can see what the flooding impacts are for this particular river gauge. So I'm going to click on this show more flood impacts. When I click on this, it'll show us the impact at 6 feet. So it says low-lying areas along the Elkhorn River begin to flood. The 7.5 feet, which we are above that right now, so that's not minor flooding. That's along the Elkhorn River. You might see pasture land along the river being flooded. Once you hit 9 feet, which is moderate flooding, that's when you can see the moderate flooding at agricultural and pasture land along the Elkhorn River. And then you can look at the impacts as it gets higher on there. Now we can also scroll down, can get a better look at where this gauge is. So if we scroll out, you can see Atkinson and Emmett. We can scroll in and it'll tell us what road that is. So that's 479th Ave. So that's where that gauge is located along the river. And then to the right, you can see what the most recent crests were. So these are all the most recent ones in the past years. And then the historic crest, which we can see on the past years as well. And you can click on the show all, and it'll show all of them up like this on a pop-up window. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back to the home page. So just click on home and it brings up our map again, and we'll go ahead and scroll in. And this time we're going to take a look at the North Platte River here. So I'm zooming in to North Platte River at North Platte. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Again, we'll do the full information. So this is going to have a similar look to it as the other one. The North Platte River currently is at action stage, which action stage is 5.5 feet. So you can see that we're just kind of hovering right now at 5.5 feet. It was up at 5.6, and then it's starting to come down to 5.5. And we're going to scroll down here because we want to take a look at the flooding impacts for here as well. So in this one, you can see once we get to the minor flooding, which we're not there yet, but it'll say minor flooding begins, in low-lying areas along the south bank of the North Platte River. Flooding in yards between the golf course and Buffalo Bill campground is possible. And then also minor water intrusions into low-lying areas of Cody Park. So these are all very helpful things to know on these flooding impacts because they can help you figure out if it might impact your, either agricultural areas or, your house or buildings, things like that. If we scroll down again, you can get that gauge, kind of see where it is. This is Cody Park in North Platte, and we can scroll down and see that it's right off of Highway 83 here. And then again, similar things, recent crest, historic crest. Now the one thing that we do have with this North Platte River is we can display FEMA's National Flood Inundation Map there. So we can take a look at this, and I'll zoom out a little bit here so you can see a little better. So if you look at here, you can look at the displays, the legend here, and it'll show you kind of where you might be at risk. So we're looking at areas, with the orange here might have that 0.2% chance of having that flood hazard. These are the different zones. So these are just kind of different things you can look at. Not every site has it. So North Platte at North Platte has that map that you can look at, but you can click on this on any of the gauge sites to see if they do have a FEMA National Flood Map on there, and you can click it off if you want to see it that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go back to home again. And then this time, what we want to look at is you'll notice these kind of green shadings all around that are there. So you can click on those. So we'll go back up to that one by Atkinson. We're going to click on this, and it's going to tell us that this is a flood warning. So it tells us when it was issued. So it was issued at 1:02 this afternoon, and it is valid until tomorrow, June 23rd at 12 p.m. And so then what you can look at is what is happening or what is occurring. So the what is the flooding along the Elkhorn River caused by excessive rainfall, and then the where, it'll tell you, what portion of Nebraska it is. So this is north central, including Holt County. and then the time is until Central Daylight Time Sunday. And then you'll see that the impacts are flooding on the Elkhorn River and other low-lying and flood-prone areas as well. River levels continue to rise due to excess runoff from earlier rainfall. So that's where you can see all the impacts that might be. And then anything else that might be in there will be under this additional details. So we can see that we put in some information about what the gauge was reporting along the river, and then some of the towns that might be experiencing the flooding. And then the precautionary and preparedness actions are on there as well to let you know. So of course we have the turn around, don't drown when you're encountering those flooded roads, as most flood deaths occur in vehicles, and then also reporting any observed flooding to local emergency services or law enforcement, and pass that information along to the National Weather Service as well when you can do so safely. So that's all the information you can find in that flood warning. You just click on the X to clear that out. We can take a look and see, you know, there's some other locations that have that. So you see here, this is a little bit of a different shading, so maybe we want to see what's going on over there. And since that's a lighter green, you've got a flood advisory in that area. So we can take a look and see that that's for the flood advisory. Again, gives us all the information. So those are different things that you can see kind of about flooding. And now maybe you're curious about how much precipitation has occurred in the past day or even couple days. So the next thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at the precipitation. So this is that little legend on the side. So you can scroll down and you'll see where it says precipitation estimate. You're going to click on the enabled part and it's going to bring up this enabled area here. You're going to also click on this little arrow. It'll bring a drop-down menu, and then you can click on this display estimated precipitation on hover. Now, if you are using a phone, it's not going to be able to do the hovering part on it. But if you are using a computer, you can use your mouse to kind of hover over it. So if you are using a phone, you're going to have to scroll down, and then here's our legend of all the different color coordinations for the different precipitation amounts. So on here, you know, you can see that the yellows obviously are higher. You're getting 1.5 to 2 inches, and once you get to the red, you're like 3 to 4 inches there. And then the white could be greater than or equal to 10 inches. So that's what you'll have to look at if you are using a phone. If you're using your like a laptop or a desktop, you can hover. So we can just hover over different locations here. So, you know, I can see there's those yellows. We got, you know, 1.5 inches, 2.23 inches. The highest amounts are down here. We've got the reds. And then let's just say this is a little harder for me to see because as I zoom in, it's kind of hard to actually see where you're at, except we can see like Lake McConaughey over here and Ogallala, but some of this is hard to read. You can do a couple things. You can either change the opacity of that, so you can just kind of scroll down, and then maybe you can see a little better what location you're looking at. So we can see this is I-80, and we can take a look this way, you know, get over to Kearney, or we kind of know North Platte's over here. Or you can scroll down to where it says administrative boundaries, click the drop-down menu, and on there you'll see that it says state enabled, but we can also enable the county. So we're going to click on that, and that's going to bring up your county lines. So we're going to scroll back out. We're going to go back up here to the changing of opacity of this. And then we're going to scroll up a little, and you can see these county lines now better. So we can see this is Lincoln County here, and then Custer County. So you can kind of scroll in and see your location. So there's North Platte right there. You can kind of see how much rain has fallen across the area. So maybe I live out by Rodeo Road. I only had 0.73 inches. But if I live out by Hershey, I, you know, had 0.42 inches. So you can kind of pinpoint where you're at. This is all estimated data, but you can also see if you want to go to a particular day, you can change the date. So you could go to the 4th of June. You could go back to yesterday if you want to. You can choose a different year. So maybe you want to look at the year as a whole of 2023, you know, and scroll out and you can see where all that rainfall is. So there's a lot of things you can kind of play with on that, but we'll just kind of keep it on today for now. So that can kind of give you an estimate of where you're looking at for some of those heavier rainfalls, which would be good if you've got anything as far as farmland or agricultural or you know, anything like that that you're concerned about how much rain has fallen over a particular area. And then that is pretty much it for the precipitation part. The other thing I'm going to show you is right here. So you're going to go to this NWC Operations National Water Center and then the flood hazard outlook. So this will give you kind of information on where we might expect a potential for additional flooding impacts over the next several days. So we're going to get to this map and we'll zoom in closer to the Nebraska area. And you can see that this is kind of this light blue, so it's limited potential flooding impacts. And then it's kind of got this crisscross look, so that would be this through day 7. So over the next 7 days, they're looking at limited potential for flooding impacts across a chunk of north central Nebraska. But then as we kind of go closer to the Sioux Falls area, you can see all these purples here. So I'll zoom out and it's this darker blue, and that's the considerable. Again, it's the kind of hashed crisscross area there. So it's through day 7. So as we notice, all those purples in the area, that's major flooding along a lot of the rivers, and so they're expecting the potential for impacts to still be considerable over the next 7 days. So that's something that you can just kind of look at to give you kind of a heads up of any flooding type of hazards that might be expected. And that's really all I have to show you for kind of the flooding and the precipitation impacts, and that's all on our webpage there. So I want to thank everybody for attending, and if